success through the mentorship of key people.
It's a fresh look inside business every Tuesday and Thursday at noon Central Time, live on Facebook and on YouTube.
I'm Cory Myers from Lubbock Consulting.
And I'm Philip with Robb Technology Group.
And today we've got special guests, Joe and Melanie, owners of Always Good Sales Training and Consulting. Welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. We've got some great sponsors, and so we just wanted to mention them real quick.
Today we're sponsored by the really cool folks at All Flowered Up 2. If you need flowers in Lubbock, Texas, you know what to do. Call or click All Flowered Up 2. www.allfloweredup2.com. That's All Flowered Up, ALLFLOWERED UPTOO.com. Just to make sure that's clear. 806-993-0078.
The good people at Pecan Ridge are also keeping us healthy with pecans today. Getting your gifts and pecan treats from Pecan Ridge. Get them this week. Pecan Ridge, a West Texas tradition. Find them at pecanridge.com or give them a shout at 806-794-2022.
And as always, you can find the links in the description to all of our sponsors.
So we've got that out of the way. Joe and Melanie, we've spoken a few times through the Master Network side of things. And let me tell you guys, Joe and Melanie are the experts when it comes to sales training. How's life right now? How's everything going?
It's always good.
Yeah.
Nice.
It doesn't matter what's going on when it comes to sales. It's the one thing in a business that if it stops, your business stops. And right now, more than ever, having a team of people that are focused on, they know they're going to have to do more work. They know that it's going to be a little harder to make a sale right now, but they're prepared for it. They're ready for it. And they know how to handle it in a gracious way that doesn't come across as being insensitive to the situation is extremely important. And our clients have been right on board with it, but they were prepared for it ahead of time, really.
Yeah, they've blossomed, because this gives us a chance to tap into their core purpose. They've renewed their love of what they do, and they've been really creative in how they change their approach to their clients and continue to change as our environment changes.
That's great. So guys, tell us a little bit about the story of your business. How did it, back the past of it? How did you start it? Why did you start it? And all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, it actually goes all the way back to this one. I'll let him tell the origins.
So the company name is Always Good, and it's spelled with two L's, ALLways Good, right? And it really, before, and why we answered with Always Good is that started back when, in 2003, I lost my father. I had been in sales for about a year. I was doing really well, making good money, and I wanted to treat my dad to a really nice birthday gift. So I got with my mom and my sister, and we sent him to Lebanon for his birthday because he hadn't seen his family in a decade. And unfortunately, while he was there, he passed away of a heart attack. And I went through a real dark period because I was thinking maybe it was my fault because there was a blood clot that happened, and maybe it was from the plane ride. And if I wouldn't have, all those things go through your head. And I was in a place where sales wasn't fun anymore. I wasn't doing very well. Wasn't making a lot of money anymore. It was a commission-only job. And then one day there was, in a sales meeting, all I heard was 2 weeks guaranteed pay for a training. I didn't pay attention to what the training was. I didn't pay attention to anything else. I just thought I got 2 weeks. I can figure out if I even want to be in this profession anymore. And in that happened to be the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And 3 days in, I'm doing a homework assignment. I don't even remember what the homework assignment was for. It really had nothing to do with what happened from it, but I realized it was my choice. My father's passing was my choice. It was either a stopping stone or a stepping stone in my life, and it was up to me to make the decision. And then all of this emotion hit me about the things I could be proud of throughout the last year of my life, that I was still living, I was still doing things, and I was still productive, and I could be proud of it. And I realized in that moment that every day after that day was still a good day. And then I made the decision that if anybody asked me how I was, I promised myself I would say I'm always good moving forward, to remind myself of that. And fast forward 3 years later, when I met her, I had already kind of earned the reputation of being Mr. Always Good. Then last year, April, after being a national sales manager for a very large corporation, rewriting their sales process, creating a new call script, training everybody on it, then that being rolled out into French, Spanish, and Portuguese to be used globally throughout the organization. I woke her up out of a deep sleep in the middle of the night with a laptop and said, cut the ribbon. And she says, okay, clicks it, says, congratulations. She said, what'd I do? I said, you just founded our company. So
this is why he's not allowed alone anymore.
And so Always Good was founded with the purpose of just being able to help more people. And that's what we realized is that, yes, we could make a big impact. She was a corporate account sales manager for the same company, became one of the key people on that team, was a resource for everybody for the knowledge of how to do things, what to do. And so she was basically training people too. And I was like, we're on a break, walking around outside, and I'm like, we can help so many more people get better at sales to better their lives and help all these other businesses in the area and around the world really to be great at sales, because it can be fun if we focus on helping other people get what they want, solving that problem. And so that was it. We just said, this is what we're doing. Walked away from our corporate jobs a month later with nothing but our savings to back us. And we have been living that life ever since and have been so grateful to be doing it.
That's
Wow,
pretty cool.
That's quite a story.
Yeah.
You
had some downs and then you had some ups, and
yeah.
so
Definitely, that was real sorry to hear about your father.
Yeah.
That's kind of been rough.
It was. Thank you.
So to pivot off that a little bit, hopefully in a little better mood here. Tell us in the audience what a help artist is.
Well, a help artist is a salesperson who knows that their purpose is to help their clients get what they want.
And they are focused on that entirely. They're not focused on what they want. Like we all know we have purposes for a job, right? Your purpose for having a job to you is to provide your livelihood. The purpose to your employer is to be profitable for them, to be productive for them. But in that moment where you're working with a client, it is all about them. It's focusing on what they want, what their problem is that they're trying to solve, and remembering that you're just a facilitator of a decision-making process. And when you can come from that place, people know it. They feel it when it's genuine. It can't be faked. But we all know what a con artist is. And so flip that completely around to a help artist, because sales is somewhat of a performing art. And it just gets lost that people start to think, oh, well, if you're selling me something, maybe you're trying to take advantage of me. But those are only the people who are not professionals. So a true professional salesperson is that help artist, focused on helping people make decisions and solve problems.
Absolutely. I love that. And that's one of the reasons we kind of put that question up front and in your face and just kind of got it going, because I think just defining what, you're creating when you're helping the client to become a help artist, I think that's super important. And having that definition and having that kind of verbiage around it and saying, hey, well, we want you to become the person that's helping other people, and we want to train you in doing that. I think that's super, super awesome that you're kind of defining that and moving forward with that kind of language and things like that. So let me ask you this. How are the help artists performing right now? How are the people around you currently working and adapting, and what are you seeing out in the market?
There's a lot of things that go into that one. So let's first talk about some of our clients, what they're doing now to make things different. We'll talk about what we've seen in the market after that. But one of our clients is a print magazine. Company's name is Local Profile. Love them to death. Great organization. If you live in Collin County, Texas, you've probably seen them. But they were really worried right after all of this stuff started happening. It was right before the executive order came out to really kind of shelter in place. And they're like, can we even keep selling right now? Are people going to buy? And we had to immediately help them change that around and go, yes, now more than ever, people need what you do. They need that community awareness. They need the branding that goes along with it. And yeah, it's going to be probably 5 times more phone calls to make a sale. But if we prepare everybody for it, we can really get them set up for success, because they know, right? We like to say, prepare to lose, but expect to win. So because sales is one of those games where you lose 7 out of 10 times, and it can be defeating. Well, if you have to lose 14 out of 20 times, or 19 out of 20 to get a sale now, it's going to be a little harder. So we really focus on that with them. And then also, hey guys, why not think about launching a digital media arm of your business right now?
Yeah, I mean, we had a really awesome strategy meeting with them before the executive order came out. And what was so special about it is that we tapped into what they do. So we tapped into what is your core purpose, because we knew anything less powerful than that core purpose wasn't going to work. We were going to have to lead a team through a very challenging time. Like you said, 19 out of 20 is that's hard. It takes a special mentality to get through that. And they tapped into their purpose of connecting communities. We said, great. How you do that is going to change. It can't be all print magazine. And they have incredible live events. So you can imagine all of that was wiped clean. And we pivoted, honed in on their message and pivoted on let's find new channels so you can keep living your mission. And that has fed into their team. And really, they have just risen to the challenge and performed beautifully.
In regards to what we're seeing overall is as trends within the market is a lot of that companies are scared to even put their stuff out there now. They're scared to make those phone calls. Salespeople feel like, everybody's worried about everything. I don't know if I can really sell to anybody, and I don't want to bother people. But it's like especially if you're selling business to business, it can make it even more difficult right now because so many businesses are going, well, we're just locking all of our budget down. We're not doing anything. And it's really understanding that everybody has a pain point somewhere, and finding that pain point is the important part. And then from there, if what you have can help fix that problem, well, then you have a duty, an obligation to tell them about it. It's a disservice if you don't. And if you don't have the ability to help solve that problem, then stop trying to sell them anything ever. It doesn't matter what time of society we're in.
Absolutely.
But tell them where to get that help if you can. And so really it was getting a lot of people to get past that reluctance to still do that part of it. But that's, again, sales is the lifeblood of an organization.
Yep. And now it's about finding other companies who are willing to take a gamble and still do business. Because it's always been risky regardless, but there are people who are thinking, you know what, I'm going to lead my team through this, and I'm going to make really active, on purpose choices to make sure that my company grows through the trauma. And we tell everybody, now some people are going to be scared. You have to honor that. And they may not, they're maybe on a freeze. They may have laid people off, furloughed people. Those aren't your target audience. They're not the ones you can help yet. But reach out, make connections during this time, and find the people who are rising to the challenge and are looking to do business through quarantine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I had somebody tell me once. They said, I'm not sure if I don't know how I'm going to do sales in my business. I don't think 1 in 100 people are my customers. And he said, well, if 1 in 100 people are your customers, all you have to do is shake 100 hands.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay. Well, I guess that doesn't sound that bad then. It's like I know how to get a customer. I just have to go talk to enough people.
Absolutely.
I think even during our first face-to-face, guys, we were talking about just looking at the problem and saying, the first diagnosis thing, like, I don't even have to know anything about your company. If you say I don't have sales, you say, okay, then how many phone calls are you making? And it was kind of like, yeah, duh, right? How many hands are you shaking? How many phone calls are you making? And I think that's very important to be able to, diagnose internally anyway and say, hey, yeah, we're still providing great services. So why it's our duty to make sure you're aware that we're providing that service because you need it. Everyone needs it, right?
Absolutely. And we it's not like we just preach it, we practice it. We're still cold calling businesses right now. And we're dealing with the same rejections. A lot of people are like, oh, we're on a budget freeze, or we don't know, or it's still surprising to me how many businesses have zero formal sales training process. Yeah. It's almost 70%. And then if you look at the statistics, 52% of salespeople don't hit their targets.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no correlation has to be there if you're thinking about it. I don't train my people. Why would I expect them to be able to actually do the job? And, like you said, just shake 100 hands. If you're in a cold calling role, think of it as you're just asking people if they want a cookie, right? Want a cookie? No. Next. Want a cookie? No. Next. The person that
Yeah.
says yes, you go, great. How many cookies do you want? But that's all you're
Yeah.
looking for. I'm not looking for the people who don't want my service. I'm looking for the people who do. So if I have to make 500 phone calls, I'll make 500 phone calls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we had, we were slow. I sold cars for a little bit, and I think I shared this with you. I sold cars just to make a couple of bucks while I was in college, and everybody was slow. There's nobody coming on the lot, and so I just pulled out a phone book and started calling. And I think it took me 3 days, but I finally found somebody that was like, "Hey, yeah, I'll come in and buy a car." And they came in and they bought a car. And the guy at the end of it, he's like, "Hey, how did you find me?" And I was like, "Oh, I was just going through the phone book." I was like, and we ended up having a really cool kind of experience there, because and I've expressed this to you guys, I'm not a super salesperson. I don't have all of the answers or anything like that, for sure. And I didn't really have a method. I just wanted to make sure that I was doing everything that I could to make a sale, right? And if I'm sitting on my butt in the car lot, then I'm not studying for classes and I'm not doing anything productive. Might as well make some phone calls. And so, it was really kind of a pat on the back to me and a boost of confidence to even get a sale out of the phone book. And everybody was kind of just amazed that even happened. They're like, that'll never work, kind of thing. But it did, and yeah, I mean, it took me 2 or 3 days of calling 100 people a day to get that. So that's 1 in 300, to even get that sale. But at the end of
but
the
if you
day,
sit there
it was
and
better
know,
than
like,
0 of 0 people coming on the lot.
Yeah, if you know you're going to get that, like, all I have to do is keep doing this. Like, even if it's 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 10,000, like, if I keep doing this, I will get a sale.
The law of averages always works itself out. There's no way around it. That's why it's called a law, right? It works every single time. If I put in enough of the work the right way, it will pay off at some point. It has to. And
absolutely.
I love I've sold cars for 5 years, and I'd say profession, I definitely understand where the reputation of that used car sleazy salesperson comes from. I've been around those people. I was for sure never going to be that person when I got into it, but I started in it knowing that I could make more money than I could selling furniture, and I love cars. So I did it. But I would call on the list for who had leases with us. I would go to the service drive and talk to customers. I would go to the lot on Sundays and just put business cards under windshield wipers. And then I would go back and pick them up at the end of the day. And I could figure out, okay, well, 3 of them are missing. I got 3 appointments that are probably going to show up next week. I even reached out to Costco and Sam's Club to get the auto buying program set up at one of the dealerships I worked for, because I didn't want to be that guy standing there just waiting, hoping somebody came on the lot.
Yeah, I think just being intentional about things is a very poignant kind of issue there too. Whether it's in sales or whether it's in what I do, which is process engineering to the most part, or even IT. Hey, I've got a laptop. I don't know how to fix it if it breaks. Well, why don't we call Philip and have him, set up a program where if something does happen, then we've got a backup plan. We've got a plan B to make sure our business is running. And that's just being intentional, I think. A lot of businesses, like you said, 52% of salespeople don't make their quotas and make their goals, right? It's because they're not being intentional. And I think it's the business's kind of role to provide that training and do that. I've got a blog post on sink or swim and why it doesn't work, and that's just simple. Train up your folks, because this training through osmosis or just by imagining that hopefully this person will be good or they're out, is not the right way. If you actually devote some money towards training, whether it's in sales or other things, then you're going to have a better team. Your team is actually going to be more motivated because they feel like they're being developed, and they're increasing their potential to make money and potential to be better. And so I think just training in general is just a phenomenal thing for businesses to do, especially in a time right now where you don't have the clients necessarily coming through the door. You can focus on making your team better in this time, right?
Yeah. There's a lot.
Well, and also, if you think about, kind of like the product y'all are offering from from a executive standpoint, it's like they're going to sit there right now and be like, no, we're not buying anything. We're doing a 30% CapEx cut. And my response, if I was your salesman, would be like, well, what if you didn't have to make that cut? I mean, because really, or what if the salesman just don't have a thing, don't have a way to pivot around this, and you have to make a 50% capex cut? Your product is the lifeblood of a company, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Accenture did a study where they found that for every $1 a company does spend on sales training, they get $3.53.
353.
353% ROI. Who doesn't want that, right?
Fantastic, right? Exactly.
Right. You don't
And
have
that's not a dinky study if Accenture did it. They put some money into that study.
Absolutely. And the information I was talking about with 67% of businesses have no formal sales training, and 52% of salespeople don't hit their targets. Harvard Business Review. Like, these numbers are real.
Yeah, that's insane. What are some key topics and themes that you think are important right now in your training that you could maybe talk about, specifically 1 or 2 or 3 even things that are just super important that you offer right now in your services?
Focus.
Yeah.
If there's one word that screams at me, it's focus. Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Where focus goes, energy flows. And that is something that we grabbed onto immediately, even before quarantine. I mean, that's one of our core principles anyway, is helping people hone in and focus. And what I've found, even through all of our clients, the feedback they give, what I've found is that people don't give themselves time to focus. They tend to feel like there's a lot of pulls for their attention, and they'll just latch on to whatever thing screams the loudest. That happens to all of us. No business owner wears only one hat. They do often take care of all parts of the business. So it's very tempting to constantly be tending to it instead of leading the ship.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we help them pull back, and we carve out the time. We force them to carve out the time to really let their minds focus on their desires. And that one change often helps guide the ship in the right direction.
Absolutely. And really, if you think about, like, when salespeople feel good about themselves, when they're positive and motivated on their own because they feel good about what they're doing, their results are always better. And a lot of times, like you said, when my focus is going 7 different ways because I'm getting an email from one department or a message from my boss, and then I haven't had anybody talk to me in 3 months, and now I'm being pulled in for a performance review, and they're telling me I suck, and no one's talked to me at all. And there's all these things. I firmly believe as a business owner or as a manager working for a business, when you hire somebody, you have an obligation to take care of them, to make sure that they are set up for success. And if you haven't done that, firing them just means that you have zero regard. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, again, it goes back to the engagement of the employee with that training. I implement a lot of Gallup Q12 surveys, and one of the questions is something about have I had professional development lately, kind of thing. And it's vital that everyone that is in your company gets that professional development, because they are going to be disengaged if they don't feel like they're being developed and they're reaching their maximum potential there. And there's a lot of there's 12 questions in the Gallup Q12, one of which is, do I have a best friend at work, and things like that. We've got a comment here. Dylan Moore says, if you receive a random call asking, what if you need any pecans next month, you know who to blame. Dylan Moore
I like
is
it.
Pecan Ridge, one of our great sponsors. So
you can blame me for that all day long. I got no problems with that one. Just remember, I'm going to give a tip real quick for cold calls. This is just completely side topic, but I feel like it's necessary right now. When you're cold calling, one of the things that a lot of salespeople do is they start off the call with, let's say I'm calling Cory. Hi, Cory, this is Joe with Always Good. How are you today? And that doesn't work. And I know we want to be polite with people, but that's instant going to tell everybody, cold call.
Yeah.
Don't want that. Hi, Cory, Joe with Always Good. Thank you for taking my call. Massive difference.
Throws them off every time. I love doing it just because it's hilarious. People say, you're welcome. And they're like, who are you? And why am I being polite?
And then
Very
people
fun.
are like, oh, let me try and guise it as not a sales call. Don't do that. Immediately after that, say, hey, the reason for my call today, Cory, is I wanted to talk to you to see if there might be a way that we could help improve your sales. Would you be open-minded to having a conversation with me?
Absolutely. I'd be open-minded to that. Right.
Right?
There's no, I, I guess, hey, I don't really have time for this, or I don't want to, but you don't have another answer for that, right? Because
you wanna be
I want to
open-minded.
increase my
honest.
sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really simple. And that's the big part. That's about 7 seconds, right? About 7 seconds in that call. That's about all it is. But if you don't know that down to the point where I say this all the time and people laugh, some people don't, but if you can think about Tom Hanks playing Forrest Gump, right? If you can't be that good on those first 7 seconds of your call, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, it is interesting to kind of lead conversations, and that's something that and we've kind of talked about as well as you have to have that training to understand where you want who is your ideal client and where you want them to go and in their mind and have those answers without being forceful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So
I know we're throwing a lot on business owners, right? Like I can imagine if I'm a business owner and my expertise isn't sales training and I'm listening to this, my initial thought might be great, another thing I have to take care of, right? But I think it's really relevant to talk, especially considering the group we have gathered right now, how important it is to leverage partners who have expertise that you don't have. I mean, that was one of the key factors in how quickly we launched is we would absolutely make an effort towards something at least one time. And if we were just terrible at it, we would admit it right away. We would stop wasting time and say, nope, I'm not just new. I'm actually awful at this, or I hate this, or my ramp up time might take too long and it's not worth the downtime.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd say, nope, let's find somebody who's an expert and leverage their knowledge. And I think that's so relevant because, you say something like professional development. Maybe that's not my skill as a business owner. Well, find somebody who does have that skill and utilize it. Like Joe said, he was talking earlier offline, yes, he can do Excel, but is he great at it? Does he love it? No. And there's a lot of people out there who are.
oh, send it to me. I'll just
Right?
just do it and eat snack foods and sit in front of my computer all day.
Cheetos. Thank
And
you.
yeah, it's just like, and that's the thing. I love statistics and I love Microsoft Excel and I love process management and I just get into that. And most people, they see, oh, math. No, I don't want to do that. I don't want anything to do with that. And so that really puts me in a unique position because I enjoy it. And and same thing with sales. I've very clearly expressed to you guys, I do not enjoy the sales portion of my business. I just don't. I love to help people and I love to find the solutions. However, the actual turning that into a business transaction side of things, it's just it's kind of outside of my comfort zone. And I've had to grow a lot as a business owner over the last 4 years into doing that. But it's definitely still I'm still that introverted kid from Lubbock, Texas, that had red hair and got picked on in school, so I still have that like back in the past kind of mentality for some reason, I think. And a lot of people that see me think of this extroverted person, but I've had to really work on that. And so when business owners have problems, they don't necessarily find the solution outside of their own realm. They try to do it themselves, and it ends up taking longer, costing more, things like that. And really, I mean, you guys could. What if you guys had a sales team of 10 people? Your turnaround. What would you say? 30, 90 days, a week in some cases.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, man, you'd be surprised. Like, especially, well, there's so many businesses that, like we were talking about before, is when I asked, like, well, how many calls do you guys make a day? Like,
are you even recording it? Are you keeping those KPIs?
Yeah.
Answer
like, okay.
is often no.
Or hey, what's your current closing ratio? I have no idea.
What's
you need to know that. Like simple things with one of our clients within the first 2 months, 80% more business.
That, that's 60 days, guys. If you were to train your own sales team, would it take you longer than 60 days? Most likely. Because you got to train yourself in some cases to even be able to train your sales team. So, bring in the experts on certain things. I think we had a question before we get into the next question that we had. What do you say to the salespeople who haven't had any training, but don't feel like they need any because they think they're the GOAT or something ridiculous? And that again comes from Dylan, who is the GOAT. He is the GOAT when it comes to marketing and getting his name out there. I don't know if you guys, since you guys are out in the Dallas market, you guys got to follow Pecan Ridge, because Dylan, when the COVID-19 stuff clears up, Dylan's literally like every 10 minutes in front of a new business, face, what do you call it? Selfie shot. And it's hilarious. He's everywhere. 10, 20, 30 posts a day. It's insane.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Good volume.
You remember he's like the Energizer Bunny is what he is.
Gotcha.
So much energy.
He just keeps going and going.
Oh yeah. It's like he changes his little Energizer battery every morning, and that's like gives him enough power to go to the sale all day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I have a great way of kind of an analogy that'll help kind of tie this all in together. Have you ever see people on a basketball court? And let's say maybe it's a rec league, but this team, like this area, this is one person that is better than everybody else. No one can cover them. They make every shot. They're like, if they're on your team, you're going to win. And then go put them on the court with a professional and watch what happens. That's the thing is we can do some things very, very well because we're naturally inclined for it. You got a personality. You love people, right? That's going to help. But there's something that's going to be in training that would absolutely take that from you being good because you're naturally inclined to it to being great, to be a true professional. I mean, it really does take work to be able to like for me, for us to be able to go into any business that we work with, doesn't matter what the industry is, and we can write scripts, we can create processes, we can set everything up for real success and watch it change. It doesn't matter what industry it is, because I know what I know about the sales process and how it works step by step, that it's like psychology, and I can just put it into place and customize it to that specific business. But without the training, you're still kind of like the guy on the basketball court where you might be great with the people you're playing with. But again, you put them on a professional court and now there's a big skill gap because they've put in so many hours of repetition and practice in that craft. Skills. Exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that's something that that's a good analogy, because you really are at a disadvantage when you've been around those higher quality kind of trained individuals, right? So you can kind of see the big difference there. And I mean, just even talking with you guys, I mean, there's things that you guys say and it's like, oh, if I were to just say this that way, maybe I would. I mean, you guys didn't even train me, but just kind of going through the sales process of me potentially buying your services and things like that, it kind of rubbed off a little bit, right? That's so awesome. And it really is valuable to kind of see the difference there. If you're closing 100% of your sales, then absolutely you are the GOAT. Fantastic.
Now I will stop that. No, if you're closing 100% of your sales, you're not trying hard enough because you're not talking to enough people. You're only talking to the ones will buy.
Absolutely. I'll give you that. Absolutely.
It's like baseball.
Friends and family, if they're going to buy your products and service, great, but you run out of friends and family, don't you?
Yeah, but in the Hall of Fame, best baseball players in the Hall of Fame, like 300 batting average. Yeah. If you're in that realm as a professional salesperson, you are in that elite Hall of Fame level. So if you're closing higher than that, you're not talking to enough people that are telling you no. And you could make so much more money getting your closing ratio down.
Yeah. And I think selling, and we talked about this with my toy company, selling a $7 thing online was super easy. Right. And it was over and over and over. And I can't remember the closing ratio of my website because it's been a couple of years, but it didn't matter because I was still packaging up things and shipping them out. Um, and now selling higher end packages through consulting it's a little bit more difficult, right? Because you're talking to people that they are going to measure how much ROI they're getting out of this. When you sell a toy, they're like, oh, I enjoyed it for a while. It was $7. I'm no longer playing with it. Let me throw it away, or it'll stay on the shelf for another 10 years. When you're talking about a $10,000 package, you're really having to have a client that really thinks about, okay, is this the right move? And you've got to convince them to do so.
Absolutely.
Yep.
We never buy anything. If you think about it, whenever you've bought anything, and I say we never do, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but have you ever bought anything ever that you thought was worth only what they were asking? Or did you believe that it was worth more than what they were asking?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they have to see that value. They have to believe that whatever it is you're selling is worth more than what the price is you're asking for it.
It's worth more than the cash, right? The transaction, because I'm going to turn that into something more. I mean, hey, I've got this car that's broken down. It's worth $1,000. When I go trade it in, I'm going to get a brand new, Ford or Toyota or whatever kind of model, but it's brand new and it's not going to break down.
Mhm.
That's the value right there, because my car is breaking down and things like that. So what's the, hey, that $350 car payment or $500 car payment, that's worth it to me so that I can reliably get to work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
I
otherwise
can reliably put my daughter in this car because it's got airbags.
Or your family. Exactly. So it's always worth more. That's the key. It's always worth more. And then that's why finding out the pain point, like asking the right questions to know what it is that they have that they like about it. What is it that they want in their new, and asking it in the right way that gets them thinking the way you need them to think about the product or service that you're selling. And that's where that training, that real training comes into play, is being able to help hone those skills. It's like if you buy a really great knife and you never sharpen it again or hone it again, it's eventually going to be a really crappy knife.
Yeah. Well, and Philip and we discussed the names of this podcast, and we decided to become really original with the name of the podcast. But we were talking about like sharpen your axe, and that idea of sharpening your axe before you go try to chop down a tree, things like that. We're kind of the theme of this podcast, right? We want business owners to be able to hone their skills through listening to guests like you guys, and tell your story so that it might influence them to be better, right?
That's all we want to do, is add more value. I mean, we're not in business to do anything else. And that's why even when we don't do consultation calls with people, our first meeting is always a strategy session where, if nothing else, I'm going to give you one thing for sure that if you implement it will improve your sales, guaranteed, no matter what. And because we always want to, if nothing else, I want to give you value, even if you don't want to buy from me.
Yep.
Right? Which is why we launched an online course talking about things to pivot, right? We started because we love doing face-to-face with our clients, love working with them in a room so that we can really get that energy there, right? But so we can't do that right now. So we launched an online course. I mean, within a week of the shelter-in-place orders going into effect, we had the online course recorded. A week later, up and running. And now you get the first 3 trainings free. And I don't care if you ever buy anything from me. Get it down. You can download the video, the audio, all of it. Because I'd rather give you so much value that maybe someday you'll come back, or you'll tell somebody about the training you took that was free. But outside of that, we also make it to where we upload 10 new sessions every single month, because we want to keep adding more value to people. And so those are just one way of doing it, because we needed to make a pivot.
I mean, that's our purpose, is we want to be able to teach, even if it's a 1-hour podcast or it's a face-to-face with one of our networking members. We always want to make sure that whatever interaction you have with us, you walk away going, oh, I could really use that. That was helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been on the website and gone through your free course. And it's got tremendous value just for the free course. So So you guys are doing a great job of providing that value out there. So I
Thank
just wanted to make sure that I said that out loud, because I do believe that you guys, and we talked about it. I believe in, education is great, but experience-based wisdom is even greater. So the fact that you guys have been in the sales industry for so long and come up with your own system and it works, and you've got case studies and you've got proof that it works, I think that's super valuable, in having that experience-based wisdom. So
Absolutely right there with you. I mean, between her and I combined, it's nearly 30 years of experience.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I'm only 38 years old, but I started at 19 in a commission only job, working with people who were 35 years old. And granted, it took me 21 days of showing back up every day after my interview, because they said just check back with us. But I literally showed up every day for 21 days. So the guy was just finally like, if you're going to work this hard to get the job, there's no way you're not going to be successful at it. And he hired me. He said, don't come back till Monday, though. I'll fire you if you come back before Monday. He was serious, I could tell.
Yeah.
So I showed up Monday morning. But I've been in it since I was a kid, in essence.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's not just a profession to me, it's my life.
He sold me on sales. I was reluctant. I was one of those people where, I'm like, oh, I'm not a salesperson. I'm not into it. And he kept saying, you have the personality. You have the personality. Finally, I got voluntold during my career path. And that was when I came to him and I was like, okay, wait, what's all that stuff that you've been trying to teach me forever? Like, can you tell me more? And, and that's why I wholeheartedly believe in making sure you leverage other people's expertise. It's why my career took off much faster than his, because I took everything he learned, condensed down. I use all his best practices, his and everyone else around me. And we continue to do that. That's how we continue to grow. We keep listening to content and we keep reading the books and going to seminars and practicing with each other. We role played our call scripts yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
We still do it.
And we wrote them.
Yeah.
And we're still role playing them.
Absolutely.
And practice makes perfect, right?
Practice makes improvement.
Progress.
Oh, okay.
Practice makes improvement. See, here's the thing. You can't get perfect.
No.
It's not possible. Nothing on this planet created by any human being will ever be perfect, because perfection has already been done. That's how the universe works. Right? We can fail at something, still produce results, and do it again, fail again, still produce results, and do it again and again until we get so good that we're not failing, we're producing better results. That's the improvement part of it. But people who want to be perfect are never going to even get close to great.
They're always going to shove the carrot too far out to ever enjoy the progress and improvements they do make. So we're
well, and I think it was Dan Pink's drive, which was they talked about mastery is an asymptote. It's never reached. It's always, you're getting closer and closer and closer, but you're never reaching it. And then you talked about the carrot, the carrot and the stick. So that's another Daniel Pink drive, kind of motivation 2.0, I believe. So if you haven't read that, but we'll talk about content here in a bit. I got another question from Dylan, actually. I've got actually probably, I think, a couple of questions.
Right?
Dylan's killing the questions.
Appreciate the questions,
today.
Dylan.
Yeah. What percentage of the sales should a good/great salesperson be able to close?
30% is rock star level. That's Hall of Fame when you get there. It really. Now, let me take this a little bit. If you are dealing with hot leads generated that are coming in, want your services, totally different in that part. But if you're dealing with cold, now when I say 30%, I mean 30% of your appointments. 1% of your cold calls will turn into an appointment. Mm-hmm. So you got to know 100 calls makes one appointment. For every 3 appointments, or for every 300 calls, I should be able to get 1 sale. But if I have hot leads coming in, then maybe it is 40, 50%, because they're already softened. They already know who the company is. They already kind of like and trust the company. So there's less of that there. They're not as disengaged with you. But even when I sold cars, and if you could close 30%, and I talked to 3 people a day every day, that was my goal. Once I got really good at it, and I could close a deal a day if I did that. But that was even people coming into the car lot. So unless you work at a cell phone store where everybody who walks in has to buy one, again, there's some things that go into it, but roughly 30%.
That inelastic demand, right? They're coming in and they have to have a new screen on their phone because it is broken and they've only got one phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or Apple's done a
Yeah,
great job.
I ran a retail business doing exactly that, and it was sales was like clubbing baby seals. It was so easy. It's like, oh, your phone's broken. I can fix that for you. Yeah, less than an hour. They're like, shut up and take my money.
Yes. If the problem's big enough.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I sold cell phones for years, so I understand that one. In that inelastic demand, I'd never heard that until I talked to you specifically, Cory, about that terminology. But it's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's we had inelastic demand up in, and I think this is maybe why we were talking about that, is up in Illinois. There's the Illinois Department of Public Health, and they require all medical facilities and old folks homes and you name it. They've got their hands and everything. They require them to have an operating power source, a generator somewhere attached to the building that will provide them power. So if it's not operating or it's not up to standard, then they can actually be fined because the hoses are rotting or something like that. It's working perfectly, but the hoses look bad. So we had, the perfect opportunity. If we go out there and we see that something is just barely wrong with it, we say, hey, Mr. Client, Mr. Customer, your thing is beginning to look like it might not pass inspection, which is true. We're not lying to anyone. Hey, it's beginning to look like that. If you sign the quote today, we can have somebody out Tuesday and get it fixed for you. And they would say, yep. And they'd write you a check pretty much right then because it would cost them $100 for these hoses and then maybe $200 for the labor. So it's $300, but it would cost them $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 to get a fine from IDPH.
Mm-hmm.
So it's super inelastic demand. They have to have it by law. And so that's the crony capitalism we have up in Illinois. But and I'm sure there's things like that in Texas as well. I need to find those markets. But that was kind of one of those things where you were going to get 100%. You're going to swing at 100% of the pitches because you're going to get a hit, and you're not only going to get a hit, you're going to get a home run or a triple hit.
Every
So-
time.
We have something kind of like that, Cory, in IT. One of the big things is HIPAA compliance. So computers have to have certain aspects of their configuration set up to be HIPAA compliant. Same thing with PCI compliance for like storing credit cards. It's one thing if you just stick a credit card in a machine, nothing's being stored. But if you're have a website where you're capturing that data, you have to meet certain compliance. So that's a very big thing in IT sales. Just like you walk into a doctor's office, oh, you don't have an IT guy? Really? Can I run this little free piece of software for you and, print you out a nice little report on, why your information systems are not allowed to, operate this way? And they're like, oh my gosh, yes, I do need you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Stated regulation changes are probably the best opportunity to help people because people get in businesses get exposed. I mean, there's a lot of things where the bottom can open out from under you, and it's a great opportunity to go out and let people know, hey, you are in need of my services. Your business could be impacted by a large fine or data loss. It's a big deal.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we got another question from Dylan Moore. What do a lot of salespeople that go into the field thinking it's going to be like? Yeah, that is worded pretty horribly, Dylan. What do people think it's going to be like in the sales field?
Expectations
like
versus reality, I guess.
Yeah.
Expectations versus reality.
Can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well,
is it like all up in the air, that movie?
Well, as a former reluctant salesperson, it kind of depends. I think I think there's two schools of thought that people go into it like, oh, this is going to be easy. It'll be like clubbing baby seals easy because I'm really talented and I already know it and the system is in front of me, and you're going to get a pie in the face. Or you're thinking it's going to be awful, no one's going to like me, and you'll get a pie in the face. And either way, I think it's important to have, like we talked about, having the right focus and the right mindset when you go into a sale, because reality is a fluid thing. And it 100% depends on your view of it. If you go in thinking it's going to be awful, most likely your posture will be off, your tone will be off, and you'll find people to be combative. You ever met those people who are like, oh, I find that people are mostly rude to me, and you find them a little bit rude? It's like, I think I'm seeing a connection.
There's a common denominator here.
Right?
But if you think it's going to be easy, or you think people are going to be polite to you, they will be, and you'll find it to be a smooth, easy experience.
When she says easy, that's like talking to people and helping the ones that want to have that problem solved that you can fix. That's going to be easy. And the thing of it is that if you actually go into sales thinking this is going to be an easy job, you are setting yourself up for failure, because sales is not an easy profession to be in, and it's not for the faint of heart. You have to have some thick skin to deal with the amount of rejection you're going to have. And that's one of the things, especially is the moment I got into any real leadership management roles within sales and stopped being that individual contributor. Every single person I ever hired, I let them know before the interview was even over, you better be prepared for the rejection. This is not an easy thing to do. It's very rewarding though. And so the rewards far outweigh those negative moments, but you got to be ready for it, because it's going to be draining on you from times. And you may have 10 appointments in a row that close nothing, and you have to keep that focus of no matter what, I will get my percent. It's going to happen. The law of averages are going to kick in. So I always set people up for that, letting them know that you have to be prepared for this. But for me, when I went into sales, I went into it because I love talking to people. I always have. And so for me, again, that natural kind of salesperson, my first year was mostly natural ability of me being able to just be willing to talk to anybody. I had great training at that company, though, a full month of training with that company. And that helped me out a ton, because as I got better at my trained process, my natural abilities kicked in. It's really hard for someone who's just flat out not good at sales. They don't want it. They think it's horrible. They don't like talking to anybody. They'd rather just be in front of the computer. But here's the one thing for sure. Every single person on this planet is a salesperson. You're just not always selling to somebody else, but you're selling you. You're selling yourself on what you want to do, what you don't want to do. You sell yourself on when to wake up every morning. Even if you have a job that you have a scheduled time to be at, you're still selling yourself on doing it. And we all sell our ideas to ourselves, our family members, and we don't think of it that way. Or you sell your friends on your favorite restaurant because you tell them about how good it is. And you don't think of it as a sale, but it's a sale.
Yeah, for sure. I guess, we're yeah, absolutely. We're nearing the 1 o'clock mark. So I guess let's talk about content. What are you guys absorbing right now? What are you guys, what are you listening to? What are you reading?
Well, of course, I listen to the Phil and Cory show.
Naturally.
Yeah,
naturally. Man, I would love to be able to cover everything that we're reading. I read generally 2 to 3 books at a time, plus an audio book. I'm on a mission, 60 books this year, not 60 new books either. I will reread multiples at the same time, but I believe some of the ones that we had talked about were obviously the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is a must for anybody. I don't care what you do for a living. That's a must. What was Think and Grow Rich?
Yeah.
If you've never read that book, read it, but take the advice at the beginning of it, mastermind it with somebody, 1 chapter at a time. Go through it the way it recommends. It's more impactful. I read it once. Without that, not as good. And then the last one is a personal favorite of ours.
Which one?
The 1 Minute Salesperson.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That basically it's short, which is why I love to recommend it. And it's like 100 pages.
105.
So very easy read.
This isn't it, but they've got a bunch of these 1 minute books.
They're
but they're all this big. There it is. Yeah.
See, super thin.
Yeah. I mean, and I've read and reread. He has the audio, so he's listened to it at least a dozen times, and probably inadvertently because we've driven around together. I've also listened to it several times. But it's like all the best learnings condensed into one and told as a story. So I recommend it as like if you only read one book as a salesperson, it should be that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And then of course, the Next Level Sales Playbook, 5 Steps to Becoming Your Own Sales Hero, our ebook.
Yeah.
Which will help you with, it's a real deep dive, again, told kind of like a story, but it's about the mindset you need to really be a salesperson, to be that sales hero, that help artist.
To show up to reality.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you guys for coming up. Do we have any more questions on here? I've got lots of comments here, so I've been trying to keep on the questions here. I think we're pretty much wrapped up with those.
Obviously for everybody that's a listener of this show, if you email Mr. just mr@allwaysgood.com
ALLways.com
and say that it was a Phil and Cory show you heard us on, we'll send you a copy of our ebook.
Absolutely.
And
That's
you can
awesome,
always
guys.
go to freeaccess.allwaysgood, ALLwaysgood.com, and you can take the first 3 training courses we have for free if you'd like to keep going from there. It's only $97 a month.
That's pretty awesome, and that's a great. I think an opportunity for some fantastic ROI, right? So super,
We guarantee the
super
ROI.
lots of value at a low cost. So that's fantastic, and it's able to be that way because you've got it online and it's ready to go.
Absolutely.
So we've got that. We've got some links in the description to these videos. Go check out the books they recommended. Those books are fantastic. We talked about them beforehand. We've read some of those. It's fantastic. Be sure to check out the Phil and Cory show next week as well. We've got Jeff Gillespie, one of our sponsors at All Flowered Up 2. He's going to be on Tuesday at noon. And then we've got Ross and Jacob Hamill, the brothers that are the Hamill Brothers Studios. They're out of Midland, but they live in Lubbock now, and they do video production all around the United States. And so they're going to show us some really cool stuff and talk about some really cool stuff that their business is doing, especially during this all online and in the house kind of time that we're doing. And so check them out Thursday at noon next week. We've got so Jeff, and then Ross and Jacob next week. So please check us out.
Well, our time's about over here. I'm Philip with Robb Technology Group, veteran owned and operated. So from support to virtualization to networking, let us enable the success of your business with custom-made business solutions for your IT.
And I'm Cory Myers with Lubbock Consulting. If your business had 10 times the amount of clients because you went through Always Good sales training, if they came in tomorrow, 10 times the amount of clients, and you couldn't handle all of them, you have a capacity problem. That's what we do at Lubbock Consulting, is we help you expand your business capacity to help to handle 10, 20, and even 30 times more clients. We can help you in the next 90 days or less. Find us at lubbockconsulting.com.
All right, this has been the Phil and Cory show. Join us next week. That's it.
All right, guys. See you later.